Welcome to The InnerView, the show that connects aspiring young women with inspiring, successful women. Now, our guest today is the epitome of that exact kind of woman. She is a leading powerhouse with a long-standing passion for youth development. In 1983, she was the first president of the National Youth Organization, and later on, she founded the Young Women's International Program. In politics, she became a member of parliament in 1994, and she led in various ministries until she became the first female deputy president of the Republic of South Africa in 2005. She has had 2 successful terms as the executive director of UN Women, and she is currently an incoming chancellor of the University of Johannesburg. She is also the founder of Mlambo Foundation, which is a non-profit organization that focuses on improving the quality of public education. She is highly acclaimed, highly respected, and if I had to mention all her accolades, it would literally take the whole episode and then some. So please welcome our Campaign for Girls mentor, Her Excellency, Mam'Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka. Sabona Mama, how are you?
I'm well, and how are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
Good.
I am so honored to have you as a guest on our show today.
Thank you.
Thank you
for having me.
Thank you. We always talk about how every story has a journey, every journey has a story, and every name also has a story. So, I mean, I know you and I are Beatles, but I'd like to know, what is the story behind your name?
Well, I think my family was relieved when I was born, and it sort of settled my parents. And so the name Phumzile was to appreciate the settlement that came to the family.
Yes. And do you find that you actually have moments throughout your life where you live up to your name, and there's moments where it's like you bring that kind of settlement?
I don't really know, because I'm not a very settled person. I'm hectic. There's always something happening, moving to the next thing. I suppose it's maybe the subtle settlement that is underneath the things I'm always chasing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you please tell us about your background, your upbringing, how your childhood was, and if there's any experiences that stick out for you that might have shaped the woman that you are today?
You know, my childhood was pretty average, really. I was a happy child, but my exposure to matters of community started when I was at high school. And it was a lot about the differences in education, noticing that I actually was not receiving the best education possible. And that actually a whole lot of black people were in the same position than me. And then I joined a youth organization, because that's always a point in one's life that just opens a new world. I became part of the YWCA, and life was never the same after that. It was the Young Christian Women's Association. It was an organization that focused on race and gender in a way, because we were a black YWCA. There was a white YWCA that we were not part of. It was an organization that was obviously focusing on women's issues, but also there were a lot of class issues that we challenged and we faced. So it was the first time that I learned about race, class, and gender. And it's much later in the years that I realized that these were even concepts. I just went through them, and that again led me into understanding that it's not just my education that is not right. Where I'm going to work is not going to be the same. The opportunities I'm going to have are not going to be the same. Then, you know, it was, well, fight wire. Everything is wrong. Just take the whole struggle into your hands and make your small contribution.
And where did you get the courage from to make the contribution? I mean, at that time, obviously it was quite volatile and you faced a lot of obstacles along the way. But where did you find the thing that kept you going, where you saw your goal and you just continued to be a part of the solution, really?
Being part of a team makes you believe you have got more strength than you really have.
Okay.
More strength than you would believe you have if you were alone. I think being dependent on other people and knowing that when we had a plan, this was not my plan, this was our plan, gave one a sort of courage that carried one through. And that is why for young people, it's always important to be a part of something that's bigger than you. Because it expands you to places that you never thought you would go. And you are influenced by your team on the choices that you make. Hopefully you choose a good team.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Now, as someone who's also an advocate for education, I know you're talking about that and how that actually sort of even gave you the platform to discover and to delve into so many other injustices and so many other things that would lead you to where you are today. Now, when you're looking at education then and you're looking at it today, it's a completely different world. How do you think we can innovate education for today's climate?
A lot of the good starting points for a good education now exist. We have access to all those interventions, and they're meant to support us. Back in those days, that did not quite exist. If you had good and innovative teachers, they would try and help you, navigate the space, but that was not holistic, or there was no national curriculum where you were all trying to go to the same place. So the fact that we have that possibility now is a big plus that we must take advantage of. But of course, we still have challenges today because there are children who are in poor communities who cannot enjoy all that is promised, who do not receive all that is promised. And I think for those young people like yourself and us old people who really care a lot about education is getting in those spaces where we still have gaps and assist to close those gaps. It is quite difficult, but it's not impossible. It's really something that is worth doing. We have to use technology, for instance, in the best way possible. And the nice thing about technology is that when children master technology, it can take them to so many wonderful places. We also have to protect them because technology can also destroy the children. So you bring in private sector in that context so that they can also play a role. You bring in institutions that are in civil society who also care about education to also add their bit. You have to depend also on the children's interests themselves, their own resilience, and plug on that so that it just is a melting point of all these good intentions.
Yes. And now when we speak of teachers, I mean, I know with the foundation, you do a lot of work in, helping to upskill teachers and school leadership as well. Is there a teacher that you can remember who noticed something about you and who encouraged you when you were much younger?
Firstly, let me just say, education is the best thing or the closest thing to a silver bullet. If you have to think about all the problems that we all worry about, poverty, unemployment, lack of opportunities, etc. If a child has education, they have a fighting chance. So if we don't do anything else for the children, let's make sure they have access to education. It's also the one thing that will never be taken away from them. So whether a child becomes a refugee, becomes lost at some point, if they find themselves back into the right track, they can always go back to their education and bring it on. If they are thrown in another country where they don't quite know the space they're in, they can always draw on their education and use it to survive. So I just want to put it out there that it is the biggest investment that we need to make. And for me, growing up, I did have, two teachers stand out in my mind. One was a teacher who taught me English, who really was concerned about having conversations about the things that matter. And she always said, whatever you have experienced is important. So don't be shy, talk about it. We want to hear. And I think that was what taught me not to be afraid to face the public, because it really was saying your story matter, no matter who you are, just tell it. And in telling my story, I wanted also to hear other people's stories. And that just opened, many other possibilities. And then another teacher that really stand out to me was my tutor, a personal tutor at university when I was doing my first year. Because we were kicked out of universities in South Africa in 1976, so that tells you how old I am. I was already at university in 1976. We went to different parts of the world, and so I was in Lesotho, which is where I did my bachelor's. And we came to Lesotho, we arrived in Lesotho towards the end of the year, which by the academic year of Lesotho was half year. So we had to be helped to catch up and be at the same level with the other students. So my personal tutor was on my case, And it was just an amazing journey, because even though it meant that I had a lot of work to do, it was so enjoyable, because my lecturer just told me, this you can do. This you will get over. In the same way that you are engaged in trying to change the system in South Africa, that change starts with you. So passing here and doing well in your studies is going to be the one thing that will tell me as your lecturer that you are ready to change South Africa. And that just stuck with me.
That's amazing.
That you need to feed yourself and be ready and have the strength to take on bigger fights around you.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. It really is important to have, and I think it actually talks still to what you were talking about the right team. And it really can start from an early age. Now, in your tenure as an executive director at UN Women, and I must say I used to follow you on social media. I mean, I still do, but I mean, all the work that you were doing, just to see everything that you were doing and how amazing just touching women in different parts of the world must have been. What is the experience that it has taught you about the global woman?
Firstly, I think I appreciate solidarity much more. Being a South African and a South African who was involved in the struggle, I already recognized how important solidarity is because, you know, we benefited a lot from the actions that were taken by other people in different parts of the world, people who never even knew us, but knew our story and decided that they were going to fight on our side. And when I worked for UN Women and I saw women around the world who would be concerned about women in another corner of the world and would take on their issues and sometimes make changes that impact very positively on the women they are supporting. Women refugees, for instance, campaigning for the change of laws in countries that were far away from them. It just taught me about the importance of standing in solidarity. That if something goes wrong for a woman far away from you, it's your issue. You cannot fold hands. Look at the platforms that are available for you to express your solidarity, to take action. And through your action, you can actually lead to a change that will make things easier and better for the other woman. But also the importance of raising the bar. We used to campaign, for instance, for the changing of laws. When I was at UN Women, every year we used to help to change about 100 laws in the world in different countries. The importance of that was that you began to create a benchmark of what is acceptable for women in the world, so that when countries come together to the United Nations, and countries like to brag, they will brag about the new laws in their countries. The countries who have not passed those laws would sort of become isolated, and they would then feel the need to go back and do the same. And you had to do this over and over again so that you can reach out to as many countries as possible. There are some countries that are very difficult to talk to and to engage. So you just engage around them so that they find themselves in the center of the argument, and they then feel, okay, maybe we just have to do it too.
Maybe there's something to what these women are saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Mama, in 2013, and as I told you earlier, you came to one of our school workshops that we did as Campaign for Girls, and you really advocated and emphasized on the importance of including agriculture as a critical skill. We really took that very seriously, to such an extent that we then actively started a Women in Farming initiative. We used to call it Wi-Fi. And that led to having agri-camps with our learners from all across the country, and to even the point where we established an agri-academy, where it's really a center on a farm where we are, you know, teaching, and we've got a team of people who are imparting the skills for agriculture and its value chain. What kind of opportunities are there for programs such as ours?
Well, congratulations. I'm so happy that you took that up.
Thank you.
Obviously, hunger and poverty is a big issue in our lives. As you know, it's one of the goals in the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations.
Yes.
And if you think in Africa, for instance, countries that have not been able to have, not just in Africa, in fact, you know, everywhere where there is no food security, a lot of other things then go wrong. You know, children can't cope at school. The health of people in the community, children stunt, etc. So it has such a major impact in the lives of so many people. So the first thing is that we need to have people in the community that are focused on making sure that there is enough food and there is access to food. And people who can also pay attention to children, because the early ages are critical. Children must be nourished in those early ages, because if they don't, we risk killing their future, because they become malnourished, they stunt, and we've lost the plot as far as that is concerned. And if children do agriculture, they are also a contributing group in their society. They will be appreciated in their society, but they can also become entrepreneurs. They can go up the value chain and do different wonderful things that you can do with food. And, food is nice. So it's good to have somebody that knows what they're doing there and that is there to provide that support. And of course, there has been a time when agriculture was almost seen as, it's just for old people, or it's out there in the rural areas. To make it exciting, something that young people can do. Young people must think about food and how they can service chefs. They must think about food and how they can export. They must think about food and how that can create cultural pride. This is the cuisine of my country, and they can contribute to that. So we are all challenged to constantly make it an exciting field, but a very necessary and a basic field that is needed in every society.
No, definitely. I mean, we always talk about how really farming and school or learning about how to grow your own food is really something that is a critical life skill that every single child should actually be introduced to from a very, very early age.
Yeah, so that also they can think about small gardens in their own homes, at the back of their home, where they have smaller space, plant something and make it work for you.
Definitely. Mam'Phumzile, we are so grateful to have had you come and share your wealth of wisdom and knowledge and experience with us. We have been watching you as one of really the leading women within all the spaces that you are in, from politics. We would see you. I remember when I was younger and I was still in school and I'm watching you on TV and I'm like, plus she has my name. There must be something to this. Really, you are a powerhouse. You are an inspiration. We are still watching you. We are still excited to see all the work that you've got. And we are really keen at Campaign for Girls to collaborate with you and your organizations as well, because we do have really a common goal here. And that is to advance young women, advance young Black women, and really advance the country. So thank you very, very much for your time.
Well, thanks a lot. And congratulations for the work that you do. I'm so excited that you are continuing to support girls. I just want the girls to know that the world depends on them.
Yes.
Every little girl is a star in their own right. If we think about the future and where we're going to take this world to, we're not going to get anywhere if we have not supported the girls. The girls are going to be the ones who can provide amazing and important leadership. The girls are going to be the ones who provide advocacy in communities so that communities can work. The girls have capacity to be strong leaders and politicians of countries. So a space where girls are not up there, I can't imagine it. So I need the girls to stay the course. This is their time.
Yes.
The future is female.
Yes. Thank you so much. As you heard it from Her Excellency herself, the girls, it's your time. Thank you very much for joining us on the InnerView. Till next time, bye.